Hey, what's going on everybody? It's ETAPRIME back here again. This is going to be a quick video, but I kind of wanted to get this out of the way because, if you're a regular viewer of the channel, I'm a huge fan of the AYA Neo line. They make some really great handhelds. I completely understand that they're a lot more expensive than the Steam Deck, but with their new AYA Neo Next, it's definitely top notch when it comes to build quality. But of course, we've been wanting a little more power in a handheld, and when it comes to these portable devices, we do want them a lot lighter and a little bit smaller. We definitely want a good screen in these devices. Obviously, that's going to be our focal point when we're playing our games. So AYA Neo has come out with the AYA Neo, which was the original model, powered by a 4500U. They have the AYA Neo Retro Power, or the AYA Neo Pro, which is powered by the 4800U. We've got 8 cores, 16 threads, still based on Zen 2. And finally, as making this video, they have the AYA Neo Next, which is powered by a Zen 3 5800U or the 5825U, depending on the model you pick up. And when it comes to CPU performance, it's definitely a powerhouse for its form factor. But recently, over on Twitter, the official AYA Neo account and the founder of AYA Neo, Arthur Jung, have been teasing something big. And when I'm talking about the word big, I'm not talking about the handheld itself. It's really just the announcement, because when it comes to their new handheld, which will be officially announced in May, this thing is coming in with a really small form factor and a lot of power for what we have here. I've actually got some exclusive photos for this video, and we haven't seen the whole unit yet. The announcement will be held in May. I'll actually leave a link to the AYA Neo website. But first things first, what we know about the unit so far. When it comes to the screen, they're going to be using an OLED. I'm a huge fan of the OLED displays, and even if it was Super AMOLED, I'd still be totally fine with it. They're doing away with IPS, so we're going to have deeper blacks, richer colors, better viewing angles, and yeah, I'm really excited to see a screen like this in a gaming handheld. This is going to run Windows right out of the box, but obviously we will be able to install Linux on it if we ever want to. Next up, the weight. They're shooting for under 500 grams. Now, when it comes to one of the more popular handhelds on the market right now, the Steam Deck, that's around 669 grams, which is 1.47 pounds. If they can get this to 500 grams or under, that's about 1.1 pounds. I know it doesn't sound like a lot out in the open, but if you were to put these side by side and pick them up, you definitely notice a big decrease in weight when it comes to their new handheld, if they can get it under that 500 gram threshold. And when it comes to the unit itself, we've seen a couple renders so far, and it's definitely a sleek design. So these are the renders that we've seen over on Twitter. Definitely a sleek design, and that top image looks like it might be cut off a bit, because this will have 4 triggers up top, at least 2 shoulder buttons and 2 triggers. But the lower image here looks like we've got dual stereo speakers, what looks to be USB Type-C, 3.5mm audio jack, and possibly a micro SD card slot door. So this is what we've seen so far, but I was actually able to get my hands on a few real-world photos. So here it is compared to the Switch OLED. I only have some side profile photos, but it's definitely looking like it's a smaller handheld. We've got those ergonomical grips on the rear, which is something I love to see. That way we can hold on to this unit while we're playing it for long periods of time. And here it is compared to the Switch Lite. So we've got the Switch Lite on top, and if you own one of these or ever put your hands on one, you know how tiny these little consoles can be. We're going to come in around the same size. It's obviously going to be a bit thicker. We've got those grips on the rear, but overall, I think the design of this is looking really awesome so far. And just to give you an idea of how small it's going to be compared to the Steam Deck itself, here's a couple photos. So we've got it bagged up right underneath the Steam Deck, and yeah, it's not taking up much room at all. Another photo I have here is it sitting directly underneath the Steam Deck. And if you've gotten your hands on a Steam Deck yet, this will give you a good idea of how small this thing's going to be. Got another comparison with the Switch Pro. You can see it kind of poking out behind there a little bit. Here's the Switch Lite again. Palmed in the hand. Compared to the AYA Neo Next. So we've got it bagged up again, and obviously this is going to be a smaller Windows handheld, but there's a couple more questions that we definitely have. First one, at least for me, would be what kind of power is this thing putting out? What CPU, GPU combo, APU, what are we running here? Now initially when I first saw this coming out and saw how thin it was, I was under the impression that this was going to be a new ARM Android device, but they've specifically stated that this is a Windows device. I don't think they're going to be using an ARM chip in here, and in order to compete in the climate we're in right now, it will need to smoothly play AAA games. So these images just came in as I was making the video, and I definitely had to throw them in. This one gives us a little bit of a look at the back of the unit. So we've got a lot of ventilation here, and that's really going to be the main thing. If they want to keep that performance up, they'll need a lot of cooling in this tiny handheld, and I think they could probably do it the way this is set up. And yes, it is a micro SD card slot cover there, so we'll have that right on the bottom of the unit. And it looks like, at least at launch, they'll have two different colors, black and white. Got a little bit of a view there. We can see the D-pad and the analog stick. And finally, just really how small this unit is. So when it comes down to it, and this is all speculation, I'd say that this would have to be running some type of 6000 series APU or a custom APU like the Steam Deck. One chip that comes to mind is the 6600U. That's an off-the-shelf chip, not going custom with it. I've been trying to get my hands on a laptop powered by this chip, but there's really nothing out there. I've tested out the 6900HX on the channel, and that's an absolute powerhouse with the new RDNA2 iGPU, but the 6800U and the 6900H or HX just might put out too much heat for a smaller handheld like this. So I speculate if they're not going with a custom APU and it's not an ARM design, then something like the Ryzen 5 6600U would be perfect. 15 watts to 28 watts, we've got 6 cores, 12 threads with built-in RDNA2 graphics up to 1900 MHz. The new integrated graphics in this chip is known as the 660M, and it can definitely put out some really good performance, especially at lower resolutions. And you pair that up with some DDR5 running at 5000 MHz or higher, and you'll have a really good experience on a handheld like this. But it could always be a total custom solution like Valve did with the Steam Deck. So we'll have to wait and see till May, but I'm actually really excited. The next thing they're going to have to tackle is the price. So if you head over to AYA Neo's official YouTube page, you can watch this full video with Arthur kind of explaining a lot of stuff about their new product. But in this video, they also address, the price of the AYA Neo and the AYA Neo Next and how high it is. I understand from a business standpoint why it had to be so high. Once they sell you the hardware, they're not going to sell you any software to make their money back like other big companies can. But in this video, they do state that it will be an affordable product. Now, they haven't come out and said that they're going to match the price of the Steam Deck, and it's going to be real hard for them to match that price. But if we get something smaller with more storage out of the box and better performance, I wouldn't mind spending just a little more over something like the Steam Deck on a handheld like this. But we're going to have to wait till their May press conference to find out exactly what's going on with this thing. Hopefully they lay everything on the table in that conference. We need the price, we need the specs, we need some performance figures, and hopefully we can get our hands on one of these really soon to test it out. But yeah, that's going to wrap it up for this one. I'd actually like to know your thoughts on this new product from AYA. What do you want to see out of this handheld? Pricing, performance. What do you think it's going to be running? What do you think the price is going to be? What the price should be? What it should be running? Let me know in the comments below. But that's going to wrap it up for this one. I'll leave a link to AYA's website just so you can stay updated. But like always, thanks for watching.